Level 1, the decision that changes everything. You are 21 years old. You are sitting in a recruitment office that doesn't have a sign outside. No branding. No logo. No flag. Just a door, a man in plain clothes, and a contract on the table that you haven't fully read yet. You think this is just a job. You don't know yet, this is the last moment your old life will ever feel real. The man across from you doesn't smile. He doesn't try to sell you anything. He just slides the paper forward and says 3 words. Sign or leave. And something in your chest, something primal, something hungry, says sign. So you do. Welcome to the world of private military contracting. Most people don't know this world exists the way it actually exists. They think it's action movies. They think it's mercenaries with bandanas in jungles. They are wrong. This is a global industry worth over $200 billion. It operates in every war zone on Earth. It employs former Navy SEALs, SAS operators, French Foreign Legion veterans, intelligence analysts, drone pilots, logistics experts, and linguists. And it starts, for almost everyone, exactly where you are right now. A room with no sign. A contract you barely understand. And a feeling that your old life just quietly closed the door behind you. Level 2, training that breaks you on purpose. You ship out within 2 weeks. No ceremony. No send-off. No news coverage. You are driven to a compound somewhere flat and remote. You will not be told exactly where for the first few days. That is intentional. The first lesson of private military contracting is simple. You do not need to understand everything. You need to perform everything. Training begins before sunrise. The men running it are not motivational. They are not cruel for the sake of cruelty either. They are efficient. They want to know one thing about you and they want to know it fast. Can you function when everything hurts? Not can you be brave. Brave is cheap. Brave is emotion. They want to know if you can make a correct decision, communicate clearly, and move with precision when your legs are done, your lungs are burning, your hands are shaking, and you haven't slept in 31 hours. That's what they're testing. You fail things in the first week. Everyone does. A man next to you, former army, bigger than you, more decorated, quits on day 4. Just walks to the gate, knocks, and leaves. Nobody talks about him after that. Nobody mocks him either. In this world, the ones who stay don't celebrate the ones who go. They just quietly note it. File it. Move forward. Because at level 2, the first real truth hits you. This industry has no room for performance. No room for looking tough. No room for telling stories about what you used to be. Here, you are only what you do right now, under pressure, in front of people who have seen real things. And slowly, painfully, you start becoming someone new. Level 3, your first contract. Your first reality check. 3 months later. You are in a country that your government officially has no military presence in. You are there anyway. Your team is 6 people. Former British paratrooper. 2 ex-US Army Rangers. A South African with eyes that don't move much. A German who used to work in intelligence. And you. Your contract is straightforward on paper. Protection detail. A corporate executive overseeing an infrastructure project in a region where the local security situation is described in the briefing documents as fluid. Fluid is a word people use when they don't want to write dangerous in a legal document. The first week is mostly movement. Convoy routes. Site assessments. Communication checks. You start to feel almost comfortable. Then on day 9, the vehicle in front of yours stops moving. Not because of traffic. And everything you learned in training, all of it, activates in a single breath. This is the moment nobody fully prepares you for. Not the danger itself. You expected danger. You trained for danger. What surprises you is how quiet your mind goes. No panic. No movie moment adrenaline speech playing in your head. Just a strange, focused stillness. A narrowing. Your training taking the wheel while something else in you steps back and watches. The situation resolves. Everyone on your team is okay. You don't celebrate. You debrief. You file a report. You eat dinner. You sleep 6 hours. And in the morning, you realize something that will follow you through every level above this one. You have crossed a line that has no crossing back. Not morally. Not legally. But internally. You have been in a real situation and you did not break. That is both the best thing you will ever feel, and the beginning of a slow separation from the person everyone back home thinks you still are. If you've made it this far, comment below what level you feel like you're on in your own life. Because this story is about more than soldiers. Level 4, the money starts getting serious. By your second year, the rates go up. Entry-level PMC operators in low-risk zones can earn between $50,000 and $80,000 a year. But that's not why serious people stay. The real money lives in the high-risk contracts. Active conflict zones. Close protection for government officials in unstable regions. Counter-narcotics operations. High-value asset security in areas where conventional military won't officially go. In those environments, you are looking at daily rates of $800, $1,200, sometimes $2,000 per day. For extended deployments, for months, 6 months, the numbers become significant. You start saving in a way you never did before. Because you are also spending almost nothing. There is nothing to spend money on where you are. No restaurants. No rent. No lifestyle inflation. Just deposits. Back home, people your age are stressed about car payments. You are wiring more than their monthly salary into your account every 2 weeks. This is where the psychology shifts in a way that's hard to explain to anyone outside it. Money stops feeling like money. It starts feeling like compressed time. Proof that the cost was worth it. A number that justifies being away from everything you knew. But here's what nobody tells you at level 4. The money is real. The separation is also real. And the second one grows faster than the first. Your friends are getting married. Having children. Buying first homes. Building lives that have geography, routine, roots. You are in a different time zone every few months. And the dangerous thing, the thing that will matter more later, is that you start to prefer it. The rootlessness starts to feel like freedom. You don't know yet that freedom and emptiness can feel identical for years before you can tell them apart. Level 5, Specialization. The machine learns your value. You are not a generalist anymore. By year 3, the industry has catalogued what you are good at. Every PMC firm tracks its operators the way a sports franchise tracks athletes. Your performance reports from past contracts circulate quietly among decision-makers in the industry. People you have never met know your name and what you can do. And the contracts start becoming more specific. Maybe you have shown precision and calming close protection. You get routed toward high-profile executive security, tech billionaires, foreign ministers, journalists covering active war zones, humanitarian NGO leadership operating in places where aid workers get targeted. Maybe your background is logistics and operational planning. You get pulled into the infrastructure side, coordinating supply chains for military support contracts, managing compound security for large-scale construction in volatile regions. Maybe you have a language. Arabic. Pashto. Russian. French. Mandarin. In this industry, a language is not just a skill. It is a multiplier. It opens doors that no amount of physical ability can open. The machine, and it is a machine, places you where your value is highest. Not where you want to go. Where the contract requires. This is the level where you start to understand something deeply uncomfortable. You are an asset. A skilled, well-compensated, highly capable asset. But asset management is still management. And the machine manages you with the same cold logic it manages everything else. You are not an employee. You are not a soldier with institutional loyalty protecting you. You are a contractor. Contract ends, you are done. New contract, new terms. And the terms always favor the company, not the operator. The men who have been in this world for a decade will tell you this, usually once, usually quietly. Never forget what you are to them. Most people at level 5 hear that and nod. Then go back to planning the next deployment anyway. Because the money is good. The identity is powerful. And walking away feels impossible when you can't picture anything else being real enough. Level 6, the relationships that don't survive. Nobody warns you about this part specifically. They warn you about danger. They warn you about legal gray zones. They warn you about psychological toll. But nobody sits you down and says, the people you love are going to have to build their lives without you, and eventually they will get good at it. Year 4. A partner who waited through the first 2 deployments has stopped waiting. Not with anger, that would be easier. With quiet acceptance. With a life that moved forward because lives have to move forward. You come home between contracts and the apartment feels like a place you are visiting. Your name is still on the lease but the routines are hers now. The friends who come over are hers. The weekend patterns are hers. You sit in a chair in your own home and feel like a guest. This is not dramatic. This is not a scene. This is just the slow arithmetic of absence. Every month you were away, life did not pause. Life does not pause. And the months compound. Some operators handle this by never building anything in the first place. They own nothing. Commit to no one. Keep everything light and mobile and easily left behind. They call this discipline. Later, sometimes much later, they call it something else. Others try to hold on. Long calls across time zones. Promises about the last contract, always the last contract. Money sent home as a substitute for presents, which is the saddest exchange in the world. You win publicly and lose privately. And the private losses, they don't show up in any contract document, any performance review, any bank statement. They just accumulate quietly, like interest on a debt you didn't know you were taking out. Subscribe now. Because what comes next is the level most people in this world never come back from unchanged. Level 7, the gray zone. Where legality gets complicated. This is the level that doesn't get talked about on podcasts. Not every PMC operates the same way. There is a spectrum. On one end, fully legitimate. Contracted by governments, corporations, NGOs. Operating under strict legal frameworks. Vetted, insured, accountable. Some of the largest firms in the world operate exclusively in this space. G4S. Academy. Control risks. Established companies with compliance departments and legal teams. On the other end, something else entirely. In certain conflict zones, the lines between private security and active combat roles blur in ways that no official document will ever acknowledge. You may be hired for security consulting and find yourself embedded with forces in ways that look very different from what the contract described. You may be asked to do things that exist in legal spaces so gray they have no color. This is where the industry splits people. Some operators hit this level and pull back. They take the cleaner contracts. Lower rates, fewer questions. They want to sleep. Others cross. Not because they are bad people necessarily, although some are. But because the money on the other side of that line is significant. Because the identity hardens. Because after years of operating in real danger, moral ambiguity starts to feel like just another operational variable to manage. And because once you are at this level, the firms that offer the grey contracts know exactly who you are, what you have done, and what it will take to get you to say yes. They are patient. This is the level that creates the operators who become legends in the industry, and the operators who end up in international legal proceedings, or worse, in places where international legal proceedings cannot reach them. The split happens quietly. One contract decision. One moment where you calculate the risk differently than you would have 3 years earlier. And the machine takes note. Level 8, who are you now? Somewhere around year 5 or 6, a question arrives that you cannot outsmart, outwork, or outrun. Who are you when you're not doing this? You are home, properly home, for 3 months between contracts, and you realize you don't know how to exist here. The hypervigilance doesn't switch off. You sit with your back to walls in restaurants. You assess exits. You read groups of strangers for threat indicators without choosing to. The brain that has been trained and rewired over years doesn't understand that this is a quiet neighborhood on a Tuesday afternoon. It treats every environment like a potential problem set. People who knew you before notice something different. They say you seem calm. They mean you seem distant. Calm and distant look identical from outside. You try to explain what it's like, what the work actually is, what the world you've been operating in actually looks like, and somewhere in the middle of the explanation you stop. Because you can see in their eyes that they are trying to understand and they cannot. Not because they are not intelligent, but because you are trying to translate an experience into a language that doesn't have words for it yet. This is the level where the identity question becomes serious. Are you an operator who is temporarily home? Or are you a person who has been doing this job and needs to decide whether to keep being this person? Most people at level 8 don't answer that question directly. They sign another contract. And the question waits. Because it is not going anywhere. Level 9, the long view. What this industry costs over time. The physical reality at year 7, 8, 9. Your body has been in high-stress environments for the majority of a decade. Injuries that got managed in the field, properly treated, yes, but never fully rested, start to speak louder. The psychological weight is real and documented. Rates of PTSD, anxiety disorders, and depression among private military operators are significant, though exact numbers are difficult to compile because this industry does not publish internal data. What is known from research on veteran populations generally, and PMC operators specifically, where studies exist, is that the accumulation of high-intensity experiences without adequate support structures creates lasting changes in how the brain processes threat, safety, relationship, and meaning. You are not broken. Let's be clear about that. But you are changed. Permanently, in ways that are both asset and liability depending on the context. The asset, you are unshakable in crisis. Clear-headed under pressure. Capable of rapid, complex decision-making. Emotionally regulated in situations that would collapse most people. The liability, that same wiring makes ordinary life feel thin. Quiet feels like a warning. Safety feels like a trap. And the relationships that require presence, softness, routine, the things that make a full human life, require a kind of muscle that has not been trained in years. The men who navigate level 9 well have something in common. They built something outside the work. Not instead of the work, alongside it. A business they could re-enter. A role in training new operators. A community. A family that was held together through intention and not just contract income. A skill set that translated outside the wire. The ones who only ever had the work, by year 9, the work starts to feel like it's consuming the person who does it. Not destroying. Consuming. There is a difference. Destruction is visible. Consumption is slow and quiet and doesn't announce itself until you are looking back. Level 10, the final truth about this world. There are men who spent 20 years in private military contracting. Some are wealthy by any objective measure. They sit in houses in quiet countries with excellent healthcare and financial security that took real sacrifice to build. They are competent. Confident. Respected, at least in the world that knows what they did. And when you sit with them, really sit with them, not in a podcast interview, not in a presentation, but in an actual room, many of them will eventually say the same thing. Not that it wasn't worth it. Not that they regret the life. But something more complicated than either of those. I am proud of what I could do. I am not sure I was ever fully present for what I had. That sentence is not specific to private military contractors. It is the sentence that lives at the top of almost every high-performance, high-cost, high-consequence career path. The doctor who built a world-class practice. The executive who built a company. The soldier who served through multiple wars. The athlete who sacrificed everything for the top. The sentence waits at the summit of every ladder worth climbing. Because every ladder costs something. The honest ones tell you what it cost. The ones still climbing will tell you it was worth it, because they need to believe that to keep climbing. The private military world is one of the most extreme versions of this human equation. But it is the same equation. Work that matters tends to cost things that matter. The question is not whether to pay. The question is whether you know what you are paying. And whether you are choosing to pay it, or just waking up one day and finding out that you already did. Final level, the machine keeps running. Somewhere right now, there is a 21-year-old sitting in a room with no sign outside. A contract on the table. A man across from him who isn't smiling, isn't selling, just waiting. And something in that young man's chest, something hungry, something that has always been looking for the test, is already leaning forward. He thinks this is about money. He thinks this is about adventure. He thinks this is about becoming someone who cannot be broken. He doesn't know yet what it costs to become unbreakable. He doesn't know about the relationships that will quietly outgrow him. He doesn't know about the nights in compounds halfway across the world, wondering if the people he loves can still picture his face clearly. He doesn't know about the question that arrives around year 5 and never fully leaves. He doesn't know about the summit, or about the sentence that lives there. The machine is waiting. It is always waiting. And it has never once told anyone upfront what they were actually signing. If this hit different than you expected, comment below. I read every one. Subscribe. Because the next hidden ladder goes somewhere most people are afraid to even look at.